Now, Israel continues with its onslaught in southern Beirut, pounding its suburbs after issuing a fresh evacuation order. This comes after the Hezbollah claimed responsibility for firing a series of missiles at the armed forces in northern Israel. Now, this was yet another round of bombings and devastation that the Israelis have wreaked in southern Beirut after Israel struck several targets in the area on Thursday for the third day in a row. Now, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry, the death toll from the Israeli attacks on Lebanon since the beginning of the latest round of Israeli-Hezbollah conflict has now crossed the 3,300 mark, with injuries rising to more than 14,300. The explosions that rocked Beirut's southern suburbs in the early hours of Thursday had begun the night before. The Israeli military said that its air force had destroyed 9 Hezbollah weapon storage facilities and command centers in strikes in the Beirut area. The latest strike has come after Hezbollah issued a statement confirming that it targeted the IDF forces near the key border town of Bint Jebel in southern Lebanon with a salvo of Nasser 1 type missiles. Earlier, the IDF had announced that 6 Israeli soldiers had been killed in a clash with the Hezbollah forces as the Israeli troops are trying to push deeper into southern Lebanon. And the clash took place as the troops moved into the second line of villages across the border. So far, 793 Israeli soldiers have been killed in combat in both Gaza and Lebanon since the 7th of October. Releasing some footage of its attacks in southern Lebanon, the Israeli military has said that its troops are continuing with their limited, localized and targeted operational activity. It also claims that the footage shows the destruction of what it claims is militant infrastructure in Lebanon. Now, the Israeli army has released some footage of an IDF missile boat intercepting an UAV in the area of Eilat on Wednesday night. In the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian death toll because of the Israeli bombardment has now crossed the 43,700 mark, and more than 103,000 Palestinians have sustained very grievous injuries in this war so far. At a press briefing in New York, the Commissioner General said that the Israeli attacks on the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for the Palestinian refugees are politically motivated. He said that an entire generation of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip would be denied the right to education if UNRWA were to collapse in the enclave because of the Israeli legislation that it has now recently passed. He further said that so far 234 staff members of the United Nations agency, that is UNRWA, have been killed by the Israelis, and a great number of UNRWA facilities, that is United Nations facilities, have been bombed and destroyed by the Israelis in its aggression.
If UNRWA cannot operate, that means the UN will not be able to operate and to provide these critical services. And in that case, the only alternative and option is that the onus and the responsibility goes back to the occupying power, meaning that Israel will be responsible to provide these critical services.
And WION's correspondent from the State of Israel, Jody Cohen, has sent this report from Ra'anana in Israel. Take a listen.
In their meeting, President Biden told President-elect Trump that Iran and its proxy terror groups are the most immediate national security threat to Americans and American interests in West Asia. President Trump has begun to announce nominations for his team, which have been welcomed by Israel. For example, his picks for Secretary of State and ambassadors to Israel and the United Nations are all seen as long-term vocal supporters of Israel and appear to be aligned on the Iranian threat. Meanwhile, 6 Israeli soldiers have been killed in a gun battle in what was the second deadliest day for the IDF since its ground offensive began against Iranian proxy Hezbollah. This comes after US envoy Amos Hochstein yesterday indicated that he was hopeful a ceasefire could be reached. This is Jody Cohen for WION World as One.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.